Good afternoon to all the people present here. Gavaha sarva sukhapradaha, gavaha sarva hitaha, smritaha, gavaha pavitraha, pavanyaha, gova lokasya mataraha. This means that cows are the givers of all happiness, the promoters of universal welfare. They are pure, sanctifying, and are regarded as the mothers of the world. So I think already a lot of you know about the origin of the cow, especially when it happened in the great Samudra Manthan, the cosmic churning of the ocean. Many treasures emerged from the depths of existence. Among them was Kamadhenu, the divine cow, embodying nourishment and fulfillment. She was not merely a celestial being; she represented the principle that nature, when respected, becomes infinitely giving. Kamadhenu was entrusted to sages, not kings. This is significant. It reflected an early civilizational insight that sustenance must remain under the guardianship of wisdom and not merely power. Let me tell you briefly the story about King Kaushika and Kamadhenu. One of the most compelling episodes emerges from the life of King Kaushika, who would later become the revered Rishi Vishwamitra. As the story unfolds in the Ramayana traditions, King Kaushika once visited the ashram of Rishi Vashishta. He was astonished by the abundance and hospitality offered to his entire army, despite the apparent simplicity of the hermitage. The source was Kamadhenu, who could manifest endless provisions. What followed was a turning point. The king, representing temporal authority, sought to take Kamadhenu by force, believing such power should belong to the throne. But Kamadhenu resisted and through divine means defeated the king's army. There was a lesson here that power without restraint cannot command nature's abundance. It must align with righteousness. King Kaushika renounced his pride and began a journey of intense penance, eventually becoming Vishwamitra. The story transforms a conqueror into a seeker, reminding us that true wealth lies not in possession but in understanding. There is another story of Nandini and Kartavirya Arjuna, in which Nandini, the daughter of Kamadhenu, resided in the ashram of Rishi Jamadagni. Like her mother, she possessed the power to provide abundantly. Here again, Kartavirya Arjuna, a powerful king, once visited the hermitage and witnessed the same miracle and effortless hospitality. Driven by desire, he forcibly took Nandini away. The consequences were severe. This act of greed and disregard for dharma led to conflict, culminating in the intervention of Parshurama, the son of Jamadagni. The narrative underscores a recurring theme: when power disrupts the natural and moral order, the restoration becomes inevitable. So these stories are not just relics, they are frameworks that teach that cow symbolizes balance between the need and greed, balance between authority and responsibility. Regarding the scientific and medicinal dimensions, I don't want to go into it because already many of the earlier speakers have discussed about it. I just want to refer one particular book which is titled as The Holy Cancer. I would recommend everyone to please read this book. The title of the book is Holy Cancer, How a Cow Saved My Life, which is by author Amit Vaidya. This book is a real story of a person who contracted cancer, stage 4 cancer, and doctors gave him only 6 months to live. But with the help of the Panchagavya and other products, he completely revived and he is now living a second life. Doctors gave him only 6 months to live, stage 4 cancer, but he was revived with because of the products used by the products of the cow. So please read that book. Coming to legal framework, I'll just talk about the articles. Article 48 of the Indian Constitution, which is the directive principles of state policy, talks about the states to take steps for preserving and improving the breeds and prohibiting the slaughter of cows and other milch cattle. Article 51 AG talks about imposing a fundamental duty on citizens to show compassion to all living creatures. And there are various state laws that have regulated and enacted laws prohibiting cow slaughter, reflecting regional considerations. Briefly about some Supreme Court decisions. There is a case of Mohammad Hanif Qureshi versus State of Bihar. In this, the petitioner challenged the state law banning cow slaughter, claiming that it's a violation of fundamental right to trade under Article 19(1)(g). The court said that the court upheld the ban on slaughter of cows, recognizing their importance in agriculture and economy. However, it initially allowed limited slaughter of certain categories like old or unproductive cattle, balancing economic rights with state policy. In the case of state of Gujarat versus Mirzapur Moti Qureshi Kasab Jamaat, the constitutional validity of a complete ban on slaughter of bulls and bullocks even after they became unproductive was challenged. The Supreme Court held that the complete ban, expanding the interpretation of Article 48, it recognized the long-term ecological, agricultural and economical benefits of preserving cattle even beyond their immediate utility. This judgment marked a paradigm shift from narrow economic utility to a holistic ecological and civilizational perspective. There is another case of Animal Welfare Board of India versus A. Nagaraja, which is called the Jallikattu case. In this case, the Supreme Court addressed the cruelty against animals. The court held that animals have intrinsic rights under Article 21, extending the meaning of life beyond humans. This case is revolutionary because it constitutionalized animal dignity, strengthening the legal basis for cow protection not merely as property but as utility and sentient life deserving respect. I would like to conclude by saying that the stories of Kamadhenu, Nandini and the sages are not distant myths. They are mirrors reflecting choices between restraint and excess and between reverence and exploitation. Law provides structure, science offers validation, economy ensures continuity, but ultimately it is the consciousness that sustains any tradition. The story of the cow in Indian civilization is not confined to the past, it is a responsibility carried into the future. To preserve the cow is to preserve ecological balance, cultural continuity, and rural stability. It calls for a balanced approach rooted in tradition, guided by science, and upheld by law. There are three reflections which I would like to carry forward. The greatness of a culture is measured by how it sustains life in all forms. Tradition endures not by reputation but by relevance, and what we protect today defines what survives tomorrow. The cow in Indian civilization is not merely protected by law, it is preserved by conscience, sustained by knowledge, and justified by its enduring relevance. Denunam asmi kamaduk. Among cows, I am the wish fulfilling Kamadenu, as quoted in Bhagavad Gita. Go Brahmanyebhyaha Shubhamastu Nityam Lokaha Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. May there always be welfare for cows and all beings. May all worlds be happy and prosperous. Because when a civilization protects its most gentle beings, it ultimately protects the gentleness within itself. Finally, when a civilization protects the sources of sustenance, it protects its own future quietly, steadily, and completely. Thank you.